Let's get it poppin'. Hello everybody, if you're new here, my name is Jelisa and this is my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen my get to know me post, I will link it right over here. Go ahead and take a look at it if you want to get to know me a little bit more. Today we are going to be talking about things I wish I knew before my son was born. So without further ado, let's go. First thing we're going to talk about is nesting. Depending on the type of person you are, I think I started really nesting when I was in the 3rd trimester. So nesting is when you're just ready to get everything together. You want to get the nursery together, the crib together. You want to start organizing everything, wash all the clothes and all that good stuff, all that good jazz. With that being said, I am going to recommend you have somebody help you. I know TikTok has been like glorifying nesting parties, and honestly I wish I had one. I know for a fact if I do have another baby in the far future, I'm definitely gonna have a nesting party because I think that it would be so much fun. It's a very, very satisfying experience, I'm not gonna lie. However, when it comes to nesting, don't overdo it. Like, don't try and complete it all in one day. If you're doing it by yourself or if it's just you and your significant other, just try and get it done in chunks and pieces that you can handle, because if not, then you're gonna burn out, you're gonna be tired, and it's just not going to be a fun time. And get excited about your new baby boy or baby girl coming in. And by the way, congratulations if you are expecting or if you had your baby already. Next thing I'm going to talk about is hospital. So when you go to your hospital, whichever one you decide to have the baby at or whichever one your OBGYN refers you to, I would recommend reading up on the hospital. If you can have the option to take a tour. Make sure you fill out all the paperwork needed prior to your induction date or your due date, just so that when you get there they know exactly who you are. Give a call to the hospital. Make sure you are all put together so that there is no confusion. While you're in labor, you're not having to sign papers and stuff. Just make sure that they know who you are, who your doctor is. After you have your baby, they're gonna do infant checkups, and honestly in my experience that was the worst part about the hospital visit, because whenever they would come in and do like the infant checkups and they would check up on me, it was always when like he would just get to sleep, and no matter if he just went to sleep or like he just calmed down, like they're gonna do the infant check and then they're gonna leave you with a crying baby, unfortunately. But in all honesty, they're making sure that your baby is healthy, so there's nothing really you could do. Breastfeeding. So when Noah was originally born, I did start breastfeeding. However, I want to say I stopped when he was 2 months old. Reason being is because I had a very, very low supply. I was barely breaking an ounce a day. And I know there's like multiple things that you can do to help with that, like liquid IV is a good thing. I didn't try that. I wasn't keeping up with a pumping schedule as well. So if you plan on breastfeeding, just make sure you have an idea of how your day is going to play out so that you can time when you can pump. And another thing, stress does affect your breast milk supply. The least amount of time that you stress about it, the better. But for me, since I already have a lot of stress and like worries just built into me naturally, I get stressed out so easily. That was just, it didn't work out for me. Around the time that your baby is born, there's a good chance that he or she can be cluster feeding. Cluster feeding is when they're constantly eating. Like they're eating like every 30-45 minutes, sometimes even less. It's painful. When Noah was first born, I think the first day that I tried to breastfeed him, he was cluster feeding and he tore my right nipple up. It was really, really bad, and it was to the point that he didn't even want it anymore, and he didn't like my left side either. Cluster feeding, I don't think it lasts that long. If I'm not mistaken, I think it lasts like 2 or 3 days after they're born. Second thing for breastfeeding and like eating in general, their weight may fluctuate, and there's nothing to really be worried about with that, because sometimes they do drop, sometimes they stay the same, sometimes they gain a couple ounces. It's just as long as it's not a significant drop and your pediatrician does not mention anything that could possibly be going wrong, then you're fine. Don't stress out about it. Just keep doing what you're doing until the next checkup comes up. Next thing is colic. Colic is is terrible. It's just pretty much when they're super gassy and they can't pass it, almost like constipation, I guess you can say, but they call it colic for babies. Pretty much they're super gassy, they're really fussy, it's really hard to manage, and it could really put you and your partner to the edge. Like I remember when Brian and I were dealing with Noah, well, not dealing, but like taking care of Noah the first month or so, I want to say that he got a little colicky. It was bad. It was very, very bad. But we made the necessary changes. We changed his bottle. I tried to breastfeed him more often rather than bottle feed him. And we were also doing like supplemental feeding. So like he was also getting formula too. So that could have been a play in it as well. But overall, colicky babies, like you just gotta find a way to relieve the gas. I know for me, a lot of my information came from TikTok, and I would just look up like how to relieve gas for colicky newborns, and they had a lot of different resources that you could do. I know like the bicycle is one. Tummy time is essential for colicky babies. They're gonna hate it, but at least if you can get at least 5 minutes out of them to be on their stomach, then do it. So bottles. So when Noah was first born, he was on the Medela bottles. These bottles, they're not anti-colic. They have a very fast flow for a newborn. So that is where he was getting a lot of his colic issue. Ended up doing was we tried the Dr.Browns. It worked out really great. Love the Dr. Browns. I'm an advocate for Dr. Browns bottles 100% all the way. We also tried Tommee Tippee. Tommee Tippee was cool. The only problem that I had with Tommee Tippee is like if it was in the bottle warmer, then the nipple would kind of like shrink in a little bit, and then the milk would start like going out, so it would get all in the water and make my bottle warmer really gross. That was the only issue that I had with the Tommee Tippees, and it happened way too frequently. My boyfriend's sister told us about the brand Maam, M-A-M. This bottle we still use to this day. It's a great bottle. It doesn't have as many parts as the Dr. Browns if you're worried about constantly like washing them. It has like a self sanitation thing that you can do by just putting water in the bottom of it and then putting it in the microwave for like I think a minute, and it's really good. I like it. I like them. My boyfriend likes them. Noah loves them. That's pretty much that on bottles. Anti-colic, as long as you can get an anti-colic one, you should be fine. It'll also help with the colicky problems with your newborn if he's experiencing any colic. Another thing that I really put into play when Noah was a newborn was after he ate, I would sit him up straight on my lap. Like I would be holding him and just like have him straight up so that the food can kind of just like digest and settle, and then I would just like, you know, burp him. Then he would let out a nice burp and then be like, okay. As he got older and he was able to sit in like a sit-up seat, then he would spend about like 15-20 minutes in the sit-up seat just so that his food could digest, because he was having an issue with acid reflux, and surprisingly that can happen in babies too. So he was having an issue with acid reflux. Sitting him up for about like 20 minutes after his bottle really did help a lot. So breast pumps is a whole nother ball game, and I'm only gonna really touch on it a little bit. I could go more in depth. I'm not a lactation consultant. This is just based off of what I experienced. I had 3 different pumps. I had the Medela pump and style. I had another Medela pump. I don't know the name of it. And then I also had the Momcozys as well. I don't remember which model. So the Medela pump and style, that was my first breast pump that I started using, and it was nice. I liked it. It was sleek, compact. It wasn't a big, you know, clunky machine. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that it didn't come with like a bag to hold everything in. You would have to get that separately. Secondly, I didn't like the tubing that they had. I'll insert a picture of what the tubing looked like here. The tubing, it would come undone too easily for me from the like holder for the flange, and I just didn't like it. Eventually my aunt, she sent me her old breast pump, and I tried that. I liked it a lot more. It had a lot more suction, and I liked that it had like a letdown feature. The Medela pump and style also had a letdown feature, but I didn't think the suction was that good for that one. I switched to the other Medela one that my aunt had gave me, and it helped a lot. I don't know if it necessarily hurt my supply or not, because I was such a low producer anyways. Then I would also try the Momcozies, because around the time that Noah was born, we had a hurricane here in Florida and my power went out, so I needed to have an alternative to pump. I also wanted it to be more portable because, you know, as a first-time mom, you're like constantly up and about, like you're constantly running around. One thing I can say about breast pumps is make sure you have the proper flange size. If you look up on YouTube or like Google or even just Pinterest, you can find loads of information on how to measure your nipple, and make sure you're getting the right flange size, because the flange size is very, very important. When you are pumping, you don't want your whole nipple and areola going into the flange. You mainly just want the nipple to go in, because that is where the milk is coming from. The rest is just supposed to like stimulate the letdown. Milk supply, like I said, I was a low supply. I did not have a lot of milk coming in, and I don't know what I could have necessarily done better to make this happen for me. I guess I could have like started pumping a little bit earlier. I didn't start pumping until literally Noah was born. I didn't pump any colostrum or anything like that. And when I was in the hospital and they were trying to get me to breastfeed, because my hospital was very much so like breastfeed advocate, like they wanted you to breastfeed, I wasn't producing enough and I was very, very discouraged. I cried a lot in that hospital. I would say pump some colostrum before you get there, freeze it. Entertaining a newborn. So a newborn, they don't have the motor functions to like grab things or anything. They're mainly just looking at things. Main thing that my boyfriend and I did for our newborn, we allowed screen time. And I know like he's so young, he's only a couple weeks old, like what else are we supposed to do? Like we would let him play in his little jungle gym, but he would get bored of the jungle gym. We would sit there and read books to him, but he would get bored of that eventually. He would sit in his swing and look at like the little things that would go over his swing, and he would get bored of that. All in all, we would result to screen time. There's lots of baby sensory videos out there that will capture their attention. Noah was obsessed with Hey Bear Sensory, Little Adventures TV. He likes Miss Rachel now. I'll make sure to link those channels down below as well, so you guys can take a look at it for yourself and try them out with your babies. Surviving the first week. So once you bring your newborn baby home, you're gonna be happy because you're just like, man, like I just gave birth to this baby, and like he or she's the most precious thing in the world. And then it's like also like unloading all of the crap that comes from the hospital, because they give you a lot of things. They give you extra newborn diapers, wipes, they give you like nipple creams, they give you flanges, they give you some postpartum care. So it's also dealing with that. Another thing about the first week is that the first week's gonna seem easy. I'll put it as that, because the baby is mainly gonna be sleeping. He's gonna be sleeping for hours and hours on end. Don't be fooled, because that is not his sleeping schedule. He's still like in his whole like womb time. You know what I mean? Like you have to be the one to introduce him to be like, hey, this is when we're awake and then this is when we're asleep. One thing I would say, make sure you have blackout curtains in the nursery or in your bedroom, because that helped tremendously with helping Noah. I like kind of get the feel for like when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. So keep that in mind. Blackout curtains are a must. I would highly recommend getting some blackout curtains. It helped us a lot, especially if we had those days where we just wanted to sleep in a little bit. It really did help. There's a chance that they are going to be very hard to manage. You're not probably going to get a lot of sleep the first week as a new parent, specifically mom, because they're most likely going to wake up to eat, and if you're breastfeeding, you know, you got to be up to breastfeed them. One thing I was very, very sure of, because I know a lot of people, they have an issue with co-sleeping. I do not co-sleep with my son. Granted, there are times where like I will let him lay in the bed with me until he calms down enough to go to sleep. Once I'm uncomfortable, I will get up and put him back in his crib. So he knows that he does not sleep in my bed unless like I'm dead tired and don't feel like getting up, which is very rare. Co-sleeping, you have to nip that in the butt now. It's gonna be simple and easy and like cute because you want to cuddle up to him or her. In the long run, it's gonna kick you in the ass. It's gonna kick you in the ass. Just being blunt, just being honest, it's gonna kick you in the ass, and it's gonna be very, very hard for you and your partner. You had to nip that in the butt first week, it's kind of your preference. For me, I didn't like the co-sleeping thing, and plus it's kind of not safe. I know people have controversial opinions about that, and they have great products to where the baby, like they put like gates around the bed so that the baby doesn't fall, and if they do fall, the gate will catch them, and that's cool. But for me, co-sleeping was not for me. It wasn't in my books, and I was not planning on co-sleep. It's gonna be hard to identify their cries, what they need, trying to get their schedule together. It's gonna be very, very hard, but it's just a matter of being aware. What I did was that I would make notes of like the last time I fed him, was the last time I put him down for a nap, how long did he nap for, and that kind of helped me out a lot. There are plenty of apps that can help you do that too, to where you can log it in a more aesthetic way. But that's what I did my first week. I hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and why don't we turn on that post notification bell too while we're at it? Why not? It's right there. So without further ado, happy Sunday, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you on Friday.